Well, still working on this painting here. I've done a little bit of work since you last saw it. I just worked on some of the trees. In fact, let me show you what I've been working on. So we have, I'd worked on the trees here in the last lesson, if you remember, or in the last demonstration. Now I've filled in these trees here, very much the same technique here, used here as here, and of course I've just worked on this tree here. But what I want to work on now, or what I'll be working on today, is this area there. Now, when you look at the photograph, you can see that it's obviously a man-made sort of retaining wall, I suppose. This is just a blocked-in stage. I think it's going to need probably a glaze just to get the colour, the overall colour, a bit nearer to the actual photograph. And the photograph has definitely got more of a sort of a mottled look to it as well. So I'm going to do that first with a glaze, and then we'll move on and I'll show you the next bit. We're just going to concentrate on this bit here in this video. And it should help you with all sorts of things, doing, you know, any sort of stonework, stone walls or buildings or anything like that. So let's get started right now. Okay, so I'm going to start off, just to begin with ivory black and burnt umber. I've also got here, just sitting in this old jar lid, some liquid, it's only a tiny bit there. And I'm going to make a glaze. So we put the liquid down and we mix in a little bit of the ivory black and a little bit of that burnt umber. So as you can see, it's very clear. You know, it's only just slightly coloured liquid original. And then I'm just going to go over it with just a spotty effect, using, by the way, Rosemary & Co. Treat and Texture Series 32. This is size 3/8. Now this has a benefit, I don't know whether you can see that, of having like a little bit of a chamfer on the edge, so that when you push against the panel, it splits the brush. And that sort of gives you sort of an uneven textured look. Tree texture. And we'll go over the whole area like that. Don't worry about going over that grass, not too concerned about that. That's got to have some darker elements to it anyway. And just go over this whole area. Now if you find that it's too transparent, the mixture of the liquid and the paint, then just add a bit more paint. So now I'm going to move on to the Rigger brush, series 771, size 1, once again by Rosemary & Co. It's a great little brush this, and I'm going to use that to, I'm just going to go round the, or outline the stones that are in the wall there. But this time I'm going to add white spirit, because with white spirit it's easier to get a sharper line, or at least I find it easier to get a sharper line. So I just mix in a little bit of white spirit with the ivory black and the burnt umber. And then just where you can see them, there's sort of the odd crack and area where you've got, and you can't see all of the details of the stone, but if we can just put in some, a little bit, just using the very tip of that brush, very light pressure, picking up more paint every few seconds really. And just what we're doing is we're putting in just a hint of the details that we can see without actually copying it really faithfully. So what's going to happen with this, because we're now using a thinner rather than a liquid to mix in with the paint there, when the paint dries, or when it starts to dry, which will be quite soon, because I'm using obviously the fast drying oil paint, it's going to go matte and it's going to be difficult to actually see what we've done. The best thing you can do if that happens So when it's totally dry, so probably by tomorrow, I would go over it and I would kind of oil it out with, but I'd use liquid, and then that will pull the colour back out again. It will make it glossy, and you'll be able to see what you're looking at again. Or what you can do, which would help a little bit, I suppose, is just with your thinned paint, is to add just a small bit of liquid, and that will help keep that gloss. We don't want so much that it's too transparent and we can't see it. So now we've outlined some of those rocks, I'm just going to work on the top part here where we have the grass and we have that foliage that is just coming over the front of the rocks. So let's do that now. I'm going to use an old fan brush. Now once again, this is a Rosemary & Co fan brush, size 2. Now as you can see, that's pretty unhealthy. It's been not cleaned terribly well over the last few months that I've been using it. I've chopped it about a little bit to get a little bit more of an irregular brush pattern, and something like that would be perfect. Now when it started its life, it would have looked more like that. So you can see the type of abuse this poor brush has had. But even so, it does a good job when it comes to doing foliage. So just doing very short little brush marks on the panel there, and it's not all grass actually that's there. We've got all sorts of different weeds, and over this part here we've got more leaves and things, and then they've got some longer grasses coming out of the face of the rock there as well. There's also moss in there, but we'll just get this looking roughly right on the top here. Now I'm going to go and put some of the moss that you can see on the rocks there. Now that's very much an orange colour. You see it more sort of near the tops of the rocks. I'm going to use a fan brush again, but I'm going to use a fan brush that's in slightly better condition this time. Just using the corner of the brush again, as I would if I was painting trees or leaves, just to get that similar effect. Yeah, that's probably about it for that. I'm going to put that brush to one side. Now we do have some longer grasses growing out of the rocks also, so I'm going to do that now. I've already got some green mixed here that we've used up at the top, and I'm just going to put a hint of some of these longer grasses growing out of the rock there. So I think that's fine. And now I'm just going to add those lighter bits that we can see in this rock face here. So they tend to be more of almost a pinky grey colour. So I'm just going to add some titanium white with the ivory black that we already have there. And I'm going to add just some permanent rose. You can use alizarin crimson as well if you want. That's what I had to hand. The permanent rose, and it should give us a similar colour anyway. Now I'm using thinner to thin the paint. It might be a bit too light. Let's see if we can darken it just a bit more. There we are. Let's see how that looks. Darkening it just a little bit more. That's a bit better. Okay, so that's pretty much finished, I think. I don't really feel I need to do a great deal more to it. It's just a part of a much bigger picture. Zoom out so you can see. And I think it's quite an effective way of doing a wall.